Welcome to Dance Fit Biz Builders. I'm Orit, dancer, instructor, and proud owner of a thriving belly dance fitness business. And in this podcast, I'm giving it to you straight, sharing what it takes to kickstart and grow your dance and fitness business for the success you deserve. Whether you're a seasoned instructor, a passionate performer, or dreaming of turning your love for dance and fitness into a thriving career, you're in the right place. Lace up those sneakers and pull on those dance shoes and get ready for truth smacks, tips, and inspiration. Let's do this. Hey everybody, welcome to the Dance Fit Biz Builders podcast, and excited again. I'm back here with Marisa. Hey Marisa.
Hey Ori.
How are you?
I'm good. It's good to be here.
I know, and it's great to be here. Did you know? I'm talking to the computer and I'm such an idiot. So, Marisa has been so kind to invite me to her summer home. I got away from my family. She got away from her family. It was a girls' weekend, and it's been really, really therapeutic for me. So thank you so much.
Yeah, same here. Yeah. My pleasure.
So what are we talking about?
Well, we're winding down this weekend, right? Mm-hmm. We spent some time together talking about our lives, right? Like just really going for it and being open, talking about some of our experiences with childhood, our career, where we are now, what's next, the relationships. And we've seen some stuff, huh?
Tell me about it.
Been around and we've experienced some stuff. And, we talked a lot this weekend about some of the difficulties and the challenges and how we've been hurt.
Yeah.
And how we've endured. And the theme that keeps coming up is it hasn't been easy.
Nope.
Right? And, people don't see that. They see the end product, but they don't know what it took.
Right.
To do the things that we do. So I think we wanted to just kind of share some of the conversation that's been unfolding with us. And even like we played around a little bit with like a frickin' frack thing. Like, you're small, you're dark, I'm tall, I'm light, right? And on the outside, we're so different in appearance, but on the inside, we have so many of the same experiences or similar feelings. And we wanted to share some of that because we know people are people and our listeners are going to relate to it in some way.
Yeah.
And be like, oh yeah, I dealt with that or I'm dealing with that now. And how did they, get through it? So, why don't we open it up with, some of your realizations about not fitting the part. You've talked about it, you've blogged about it. But why don't you share what happened when you met that rejection and how did it feel?
Yeah.
And how did you keep going?
Yeah, that's great. Great. Sure. There's a initial sting to it. It got easier getting rejected over time. It got easier. And then I realized that over time, it wasn't a nasty no, but it was more of a beautiful no. Because I learned more about myself. But what I learned with the no's and the rejection is that if nobody else wants me, I am going to create it for myself. So it's creating opportunities, right? And as a result, that's how Sharky came about.
I love that.
Yeah. And I continue that idea, that principle. My mission is that everyone is included, no matter how you look, whatever, how you dance, how you move, whatever it is. So I hope that's portrayed.
Oh, yeah, I think it is. I mean, I see it through Sharky's values. Yeah. And, one might think like watching you that you're like highly competitive and a cutthroat dancer. Yeah. Because you're just so, you're such a performer. But again, that's just the end product. And it took a lot of like sting and rejection and hurt. And now I think you offer your community the very thing that you were looking for, right? So it's a place to belong, which is beautiful. despite your level, your ability, because it's not about that.
Right.
It's about being part of the community. And we talked a little bit about that this weekend too, where, some of the sting that I've experienced, and we both have, like, although this is, it by no means is it unsuccessful, right? It's successful. But in some ways, it's still the redheaded stepchild as far as trends go with the dance fitness industry. People are into some other things, and sometimes we're fighting an uphill battle to teach people that even in fitness and even in dance, if you're doing it as a hobbyist, you could still do it at a very proficient level because of the system that we use to teach.
Yeah.
But people get scared off sometimes, and they head to the classes that seem quote unquote easier.
What do you think they're getting scared of when they come to our class?
I mean, I've always said it that, by the end of a Sharkey class, you're dancing a full choreography.
Right.
Right? And Sharkey instructors are so well trained that they're very commanding when they teach. And it doesn't mean that you're not going to have fun underneath that type of instruction.
Right.
But you're going to learn how to dance.
Yeah.
Hobbyist or not, you're going to learn authentic belly dance, on a fitness format. And maybe some people are afraid that they're not good enough. They don't trust that it's more about a good teacher than being good enough as a student, that a good teacher is going to lead you to that. But, we have an uphill battle sometimes with, those trending workouts that have 30 people in a class.
Yeah.
And we're fighting to get 6 or 7 in our class sometimes. But what we've realized too is the obvious isn't always telling story, because I've watched classes that are packed, and of those 30 people, maybe in class, only 2 are really able to follow the instructor.
Right.
And when you watch a Sharkey class, even if there's 6 or 7 students in a class, every single one of them is dancing an entire choreography by the end.
Yeah.
So I think we're delivering something very valuable.
But I also think that the Sharkey student personality is one that wants to think.
Yeah. We're not for everyone.
Yeah.
And that's another lesson that we've talked about too, as we've grown and matured and gotten a little seasoned, that we can't be all things to all people.
Right.
Right? We've definitely had evolution in our programming where, now we have Sharkey Strength, we have Sharkey Hit, Veil is coming. Like, there's evolution of our original program, but it's really about sticking to our lane, right? And doing the thing that we do really well and being satisfied with that. And we do, like attracts like.
Yeah.
So our student profile is different. And just how to learn, through that we're still delivering something very impactful. And many of our instructors are actually like students who came through the ranks.
Right.
Yeah. And that's a very inspiring thing, that someone who never even thought about doing what we do is now doing it, right? Yeah. And teaching others. So that's really good stuff. And I would say you could use the word competition in a way. I know that it's almost frowned upon, to be competitive today. I understand where that comes from. Nevertheless, we also know that we're offering something that's valuable.
Yeah.
And we want to keep at it, and we want to, deliver that experience to people who love to dance or want to move their bodies. We talked about all the different things that students get in our classes, right? We go out to offer a service and they're getting a byproduct that we never imagined.
Yes, that's true.
Was possible. So it's much bigger than us, right?
It is.
It's so much bigger than us.
Yeah.
And sometimes I notice when a student is giving me feedback about their experience, I'm now having that experience through the student.
Yeah.
which is wonderful.
So are you saying it's unsolicited feedback or is it solicited?
It's unsolicited. Oftentimes, I just get someone who will say something after class, and it's beautiful. It's not a criticism at all. And I'm just like, oh, I can't believe I just delivered that to you, because it was unintentional, right? It's just like the byproduct.
If I can say one thing about feedback, like even when I get critiques about my teaching, that is really, really helpful. Like if a member says, hey, Reed, that breakdown didn't quite work for me.
Right.
Like it's great that I get this feedback from students, so it helps me rethink what I did. It's just so I can only get better.
Yeah. I always say, like, if you could have a pocket full of tricks, right?
Yeah, right.
And, you go out with one thing that has worked, right? But you have that backup just in case that thing that always worked, you're going to hit that random variable, that student that thinks differently than you do, feels differently, and they need another solution. And it's great when you have a couple different solutions around a breakdown. But what I'm really enjoying now is I've got a consistent student body that's been with me for a while. And so they've grown alongside of me. And, now I'm inviting like more personality, more expression, more artistry through it.
Yeah.
I'm not holding back anymore, right? I'm just going for it. And I see how they respond.
Yeah.
And that's something really incredible to experience.
As far as holding back as a teacher, for me, like over the past few years, I've given students more credit as to how much they can handle. They can handle more than they think.
Yes.
So just because they're fumbling a little bit in the beginning, but like, go for it. Don't stop. There's no regression. Just keep at it.
I agree. There's only experimentation.
Yeah.
I don't think there's real regression. Like when someone is showing up consistently, they're going to progress.
Yeah.
Right? But yeah, I agree with that. And I think from the teacher standpoint, I see that under our instructors. We talked about Sharkey 2, our second certification, where they just come off of like a year worth of like discipline. And it seems really difficult. And it is. There's something difficult about that. And then I'm like, you could handle even more than that. Like you need more challenge than that. Like you just came through something. Now I really need to challenge you. And our second certification is very challenging, but they could handle it. And they need that, I think, to not only move through it, but to start developing the teacher inside of them, where they're students of themselves now. They're watching themselves on how they move, how they break down, how they cue, where are the spots for them to interject their own personality, their own unique spin, and to start to feel like they have that permission to explore a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because that's how we evolve too, right? Like I always say, we don't know everything,
right.
We're confident in what we do know.
That's true.
That's the beautiful thing about being seasoned as well, right? At this point, that there's no apology necessary for the wealth of knowledge that we've acquired through this. Because we're here sharing it. We're not lording it, but we want to give other people permission to experience that and do that. And oftentimes, one of the biggest things that I see through a student or a teacher, I don't want to say it's a lack of confidence. It's not. It's like more like a disbelief in their own ability to command attention.
Yeah.
Positive attention. You know what I mean? The focus of their own student or audience. I think we're all in some way in need of that permission. Because it stings, and we've also dealt with like jealousy. Yeah, and it's tough. Like, tell me a little bit about, especially for you, like you're interesting for me. That you have, you are my favorite dancer. It's not even a bias. It's just how it happens.
So
you
sweet.
Are. But you have a real athleticism to your dance. And I think you're able to do things with your body that a lot of people can't. And I don't mean backbends or spins.
Right.
I mean your endurance.
Right.
You know, and the energy that you project.
Yeah.
It's fierce. It seems unlimited.
Yeah.
What was it like when you would compete to judges that couldn't even do what you were doing?
Interesting. Yeah. Well, when I was competing, I was definitely the underdog.
Why?
Because it was rare that East Coasters were traveling to the West Coast to compete at West Coast competitions. And there weren't any really on the East Coast. So you had to travel. Why I was refreshing is because I used the stage. I think East Coast style dancing, just because the nature of the culture of the East Coast, people just dance differently. On the West Coast, they're a little bit more in place. A lot of the dancers there are restaurant dancers, so you have to think of
the space, literally,
right. And you also have to think of who is popular on the West Coast. What's the popular technique? What are people taking? And I think it was more Suhaila based there, and so she's very technique focused. So you saw a lot of technique, which is awesome, a lot of layering. But personally, I don't think that translates on a big stage.
I agree.
Yeah. So I'm here coming from New York. I'm a contemporary dancer. I've auditioned for, theatrical shows. So I've got to learn how to be big. And I'm also, guys, 4'11". So it's like just to push through the front of the line, so people can see me. It's already a skill that I try to master, So anyway, to answer your question, I think that was refreshing. Moving, using the whole space and being big, and then using more athletic moves.
I mean, it speaks to me. It always has, because it also then shows like a beautiful blend of technique and artistry.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not saying there aren't dancers out there that have that balance. They do. And I'm finding there's almost like a resurgence of it in some of the dancers that I'm watching today. As I go through social media and I watch people, that balance is starting to form, I think, a little bit more. And I'm seeing some really beautiful things that I'm like inspired by, the younger generation, or like new things, like fusion is not like a new,
right.
But again, it's the evolution of it, so I'm definitely seeing some really beautiful, legs, and footwork. And it's just really beautiful to watch. Where it's almost ballroom-esque, in the belly dance scene. And again, this is all like, again, progress and evolution, because the origin of belly dance was not to put it on a stage.
Right.
So it shifted and it adapted to, meet an audience at that level.
Right.
So to see how some of it has progressed has been very interesting. And like I said, some of it is very inspiring. I really, really like what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
And it gives me like a lot of hope for the next generation. Because that's one of the things, I think we spoke about too, just the sting in a way of like getting older. And I know people are always like, well, that's a gift that's not granted to many, so embrace it. Yes. And there's also a difficulty in learning how to be graceful through that. Your body can't do what it used to do. You don't look the same way. You don't feel the same way. And to do that gracefully is a process. It's a learning curve.
Yeah.
And so now it's kind of like, definitely want to offer like the experience, and then to watch that next generation just take it and run with it in their capability of, being younger.
So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Now, we're seasoned. So what have you done differently now to still stay in the industry, still stay relevant, but still make it work for you?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, for me, where I've been, I would say for the past year or two, I kind of have this effort mentality. Mm-hmm. And it's something I needed, right? I don't
fuck it.
Yeah, I mean, fuck it. Fuck it. Thanks for going there, right? Like, that's just the perfect example of it, right? I don't have to edit myself and say, F it, fuck it. That's exactly what I meant. So I'm kind of doing that because I've been so disciplined and such a perfectionist, you know. That's my thing. And it's been tough. I'm my own worst critic, you know. I'm hard on myself. And I'm starting to give myself the permission. And I'm like, fuck it. You can't lose your place that you've worked so hard for in one bad performance, right? Mm-hmm. Or experience or class. Like, you have enough evidence behind you that if you want to try something new and you're like, fuck it, let's see if it works. Maybe it won't. Yeah. So I'm really exploring in my classes. I'm doing some crazy things to keep my energy fresh within myself. Like, I've played with, you know, putting choreography together 10 minutes before class. Yeah. And to see how do I work under pressure like that. You know, it makes me think a little bit more. It makes me connected a little bit more. It makes me a little grittier. Yeah. And I like what comes out of me when I move like that and teach like that. So, you know, I think it's keeping me fresh. And I think the relevancy of all that, too, is it's giving people the opportunity to then just connect with my true personality, right? There's less space for me to be all up in my head because I only have 10 minutes. Yeah. Stuff like that. And even I've been giving the students a lot more freedom because maybe it's something I'm craving. So while we always teach like options and levels and modifications in Sharkey, we always have, I guess the way I'm positioning them these days is, yes, the footwork is the footwork. That's our foundation, right? So you got to learn the footwork. The hips could be a layer on top of the hip. So optional. And then the arms, again, it's an option, but I'm not only giving them one option of arms. I'm giving them 3 or 4. Yeah. And I'm saying, style it how you like. Yeah. And if you have something different, show it to me. I'm still very disciplined, but I guess I'm picking the pieces that I want to stay disciplined on. And offering freedom through like layers of the class. And that's where I am right now. It might shift. Yeah. Again, in a couple of years. I don't know, but that's where I've gone. What about you? How are you staying fresh and relevant?
Yeah. So like you, I've been trying to choreograph 5 minutes before and then sometimes just on the fly.
Yeah, that's hot.
Yeah. And I've made mistakes. And, I know. And actually, you know what? I don't mind it. I don't mind it that I make mistakes in front of my people. They laugh like, oh, go for it, whatever. Yeah. It's how you recover. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Yeah. Because I think I can make mistakes and still stay on beat.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, I mean, we have the tools like holding patterns and other things. Right.
Use your tools.
Right. And I think as far as staying relevant and strong still is creating new formats like Sharkey Strength. Yeah. Like Sharkey Veil, right? Which you'll, of course, be included in helping write the curriculum.
Of course.
So I'm getting stronger as I'm getting older. I'm working in a different way. So I'm cross-training, if you will. I don't have to be teaching all the time. I'm giving new Sharkey instructors, you know, my classes in the virtual studio, right? So I can create more. I can write more. Yeah, and I think I'm mentoring a little more, and I love it. I love mentoring instructors.
Agreed.
Yeah, especially when it comes to music, timing, and cueing.
Oh, heck yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's your shtick in a way, you know. You do it so well. I feel like you were the first to recognize that in the in a format, in a system. Well, this stuff existed prior to Sharkey. It was never done in this way and taught in such a technical, systemic way to transfer that. And so I'm glad that that's what you're doing because, again, we want this stuff to survive beyond us, right?
Yeah.
We want another generation to come out of it. But yeah, I agree with that. I've never been more comfortable, honestly, backing down, right? Saying, go do it. You know?
Me too.
You got the idea, you got the willpower, you go do it.
Me too. Same thing with you, Marissa.
Yeah.
You know, up until like 5 years ago, I was like, no, I had to have control. But I'm like, Marissa, have at it. You go, take it.
Yeah. And it's funny. And I guess that's, again, like the transfer. And so now that I have more of that, I'm letting go of some of the stuff that I've done and letting other, instructors do it so I can take on more of the stuff that you ask me to. And it's cool. Like, I like that. And I think that like, again, that's a learning curve and like part of the growth where, I got to tell you, I love where I am. Like it couldn't have happened any better, but I could have never have seen how it was going to happen, right?
Right.
Like I had a very different imagining of where this was going to land in my life and how I was doing things. And I can say like, I didn't get the thing that I wanted. I got the thing that I needed.
Can you elaborate? So just be more detailed.
Yeah. So the thing that I wanted was my own dance studio. That would have made me kind of like the head pin, right?
Right.
With the class behind me dancing, looking in a mirror.
Right. I remember that. You were talking about that.
But there's been a huge shift.
Yeah.
Where it's like me looking at the class and the class looking at me.
Yeah.
And so it's this mirroring effect. I needed the teacher in me to really be like born, in a different way than these are just movements. It's so much deeper for me. And this gave me the opportunity to work through my own blind spots, to let it cultivate new things in me. Like I was always a nurturer and patient, right? But I've been challenged and pushed to the nth degree when working with someone who is struggling. Again, to find those other solutions. Like this has always been my solution and my solution's not working.
Yeah.
So now I have to find a new solution.
Yeah.
I have to find a new way of thinking about this. Or even writing Sharkey too. Like, goddamn, I never wanted to write so technical in my life.
Yeah.
It was a sweat. It was hard. That's not the type of writer I am. It lived in my body.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But to put it on paper was a very difficult process.
I know, guys. And she's brilliant.
No, but you know what? And I thank you, but it was really you and one of our other team members who kind of helped me flesh it out in the end. Yeah. And that was a learning curve to be like, all right, guys, again, take it. Because yes, it was like my writing, my thoughts, my ideas, but you were the audience at that point. So the feedback that you had to say, no, we have to simplify this, or no, let's organize it like this. I had to lose control and say, yeah, I have to trust these people.
Yeah.
So I needed that experience. I've needed all of these experiences to make me, who I am and again, to like cultivate the things that lived inside of me. A dance studio would have been great, and maybe I'm going to do that to a certain degree at some time in my life. Maybe not a full-on studio, but maybe a rental and I'll be back in person or teaching more in-person classes. There's always retirement. I don't know. It could be something.
Yeah.
But this is what I needed.
What about like those people who are on the fence about teaching or even entering our program?
Oh God. It's like, I just want to like take them and pull them and say, do it. Well, here's the thing. It's so simple. You don't know until you try.
That's right.
So indecision is a painful process. It's an awful feedback loop. And I'm like, I don't know if I have the time. I don't know if I have the money. I don't know if I'm good enough. I don't know if I really want it. You're not going to know until you know.
Yeah.
So you have to try.
Yeah.
And it's like, make a decision, yes or no, and live with it. for 6 weeks, 6 months, a year, whatever.
Yeah.
If you find out that you made the wrong decision, go make the other decision.
Yeah.
Right? And we've talked about this before, that there's a cost to waiting.
Yes, that's true.
So if, you're thinking about getting into the Sharkey Instructor Academy or doing the fast track because you have the 32 count experience. I mean, the thing with Sharkey, and I've said it, it's enriched my life in so many ways. You're going to get so much more than what you bargained for. And I know sometimes that could be overwhelming too, that you're going to learn how to teach, but you're going to also learn where your blind spots are. You're going to learn where your shortcomings are.
Sure.
You're going to learn what hidden biases you have about people. It's part for the course. It's a byproduct. There's really nothing else like it out there right now that can really give you that much. It's such a concrete skill.
Yeah.
Learning the system, it's so applicable to so many other things.
I know. I wish people could see that.
I know.
I say to them, guys, you're getting 2 certs in one. Not only are you learning how to belly dance, but you're learning a whole new system that you can apply to your regular belly dance classes and teach belly dance fitness and apply it to your Latin or Bollywood classes. Whatever.
It's so true. And I think, too, our cueing style is so clear and direct that think about how transferable that is for someone who needs to be clear and direct in their decision making in life, right? I always say the dance floor is like a dojo, right? Like it's your practice, it's your metaphor for life. Brezhnev said, right? Dance for me for 5 minutes, I'll tell you who you are.
Right.
And I love that. The system is a toolkit, right? It's your toolbox that you can use on or off the dance floor.
Yeah.
So folks who are like on the fence, there's so much waiting for you to discover.
Yeah. No, I mean, at least, apply and let's just have a discovery call with us.
Yeah.
Not a big deal. It's free. Coffee talk.
Yeah. and that discovery call in and of itself is a discovery call. Like you'll discover stuff.
Right.
You may discover it's right for you. You may discover that you need a little bit more time to think about it. You may discover that you're very uncomfortable with something.
Sure.
And that's cool because it's all like food for your future. It's fuel for your fire.
Absolutely.
Yeah, very interesting. But the discovery call is worth it.
It's totally worth it. And we don't push. We don't push at all. We don't, it's not, I've even told people, hey, look, you know what? You're not the right fit. I mean, it's just... Don't waste your time with us. Don't waste your money with us. I'm not...
No, especially people who will tell you off the bat that, they don't have the time to commit to it.
Yeah.
They don't have the time to practice.
Exactly.
Or they already feel overwhelmed by it.
Yeah.
But there are people who also have a false belief about that. And I think you're seasoned enough where you see through that stuff.
Yeah.
And you could break it down for them and say, listen... You're making a mountain out of a molehill, right?
Yeah.
This is something that you can do. It's something that you could work through. But we wouldn't be, we wouldn't be dishonest about that.
No. No, not at all.
We know what we're looking for.
Exactly.
And when we see it in someone, we're able to spot it and say it. And if we don't see it, that's not a personal thing or a shortcoming.
No.
It's not the right time because something else is showing up.
Of course. Yeah, because one of the questions that I ask on the call is, how do you deal with something that is challenging? Like, for example, for a lot of belly dancers, cueing and staying in time with the beat is the hardest thing, right? And so that's one of the questions I ask. When, shit gets hard, how do you deal with it?
Yeah.
And there's no right or wrong answer.
Yeah, it's more feeling through how they're answering, right?
Yeah.
Are they being upfront? Are they being honest? Right. Is it a question they've even thought about themselves? Are they having a hard time answering it? Because some of that is very telling, and it's important because shit is going to get hard at some point. I'm grateful to have this community, and how blessed are we, right? That we don't have the haters in our community. We don't have that.
Right.
We have a lovely community.
We have lovely community. Can we talk about haters?
Yeah, I would love to.
Do we have time?
Yeah, tell me about your haters, or what's going on with haters?
But no, nothing's really going. Well, nothing's really going on. But just like how to deal with haters. Like for me, just keep going.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? People are going to assume things about you.
I know.
That are maybe true or not true.
I know.
But you just got to keep going. You know, even your peers.
Mm-hmm.
If you're someone who might be a little jealous of a certain person in the industry, right? Go anyway. Go and check them out.
Yes.
Right? Like it just, I did.
I know.
And checked out other instructors. Not that I hated them.
No, I know.
But I want to go see who's my competitor, but in a friendly way.
Of course.
Do the same.
I agree. I agree.
If you want to know who I am, what I'm about, what I teach, come take a class. Everybody's welcome.
I know. You do that so well. Like, I'm so proud to be part of this community and having you lead it, because you really do walk the walk. You're the real deal like that. I've never experienced you as a hater. You're human, and I don't mean you get hurt, right? I've seen it. I've seen you have to come back from certain things that make me very angry. Out of all the people to sling shit at, or Reed's not the one. Like, why are people doing that? It's made me so angry. But I agree with you, and you've done it with a lot of finesse and grace. But
Thank you.
You really have. You are a true leader. You are a true role model on how to not hate, and how to learn, to love, and learn, just see what other people are doing and wish them well, right?
Yeah.
Sun's big enough to shine on everyone kind of mentality. But, you'll have haters in all kinds of ways. Class participants, peers, entire industries sometimes working against you, where it's not like a face that you could name. It's more like a ideology.
Yeah.
That you have to really break through. No. Haters be gone. What can I say?
Mm-hmm. Just keep doing what you're doing. Stay committed. Jump off the fence.
I think the fence is one of the most painful. Well, have you ever sat on a fence? It's painful.
I know your ass, right?
Get off the fence. Pick a side. Fence is painful. I rember a kid hopping fences and getting so messed up hopping fences. So
I love it.
You got to either get over it or stay on the other side. But we talked a lot about, again, feeling my yes and going with it and trusting it. And growth is never going to be easy. It's always going to have some pain and struggle as part of it. That's not an indication that it's wrong and you're doing the wrong thing, right? There's such thing as growing pains. But the beautiful thing with this is you have a community to support you if you're going to go through that, if you make the decision to do it and move forward. And it's going to hurt. And we know it's going to hurt. And we know what some of those spots are. Yeah. We're here to support it. Yeah. And we're here to minimize the self-damage that could happen, the self-stuff that you can inflict. Yeah. Like, stop being so hard on yourself, stop being so afraid. We're going to support you through it. And not make you feel like you're the only one that had to deal with this. Yeah. So I would totally get off the fence. It's not a good place to be. And the worst that could happen is you find your calling. Right. You realize your passion. Yeah. I don't know what's bad about that. So.
Absolutely nothing.
Yeah. So go do the thing. And, if you don't have money for the thing, save up for it, right? Like, it's so true. If there's a will, there's a way. Yeah. All right. Because, again, I went through a divorce, I am a single mother of 2. I work 2 jobs. It's hustle.
It's a hustle, right?
It's a hustle. Sometimes I feel like I work more than I don't. But my satisfaction is there. They say that people often make change when the pain of growth is less painful than the pain of staying where they are. So if you're on the fence and it's not quite that painful yet, it might get really painful at some point.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what, guys? Talk to us. Look, it's about budgeting. If money's an issue, whatever, talk to us, let's work something out.
Agreed.
We're not mean,
Agreed.
Anything else you want to say? Any last words?
Just thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. It's cathartic. It's therapeutic.
Yeah.
For sure. To share. And I hope that you guys also understand that this is, again, a community that can offer this to you of what we're offering to each other right now.
Yeah.
We can offer this to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to take us out?
It's thanks for listening. Until next time, kick ass.
Yeah.
All right. So guys, thanks for listening. And until next time, kick ass.